Gun lawyer here, Cheshire DeBrosse, munitionsgroup.com. Again, guys, our Ohio gun lawyer page, it's still active. We appreciate all the years of following us. But please migrate over to Munitions Group on Facebook. That's where we're going to start posting a lot of this stuff. We have a nationwide presence now. We have another home office in Atlanta, Georgia, as well as Columbus, Ohio. Continuing our series with grassroots organizations, I'm here with Doug Deacon. Say hi, Doug.
Hi, Doug.
With Ohioans for Concealed Carry, or OFCC, the original grassroots gun rights organization in the state of Ohio. Is that correct?
It is. 1999 we were founded.
There's one before you, PRO, right?
Maybe so. I'm not familiar.
But they didn't get concealed carry passed.
True.
It was Ohio for Concealed Carry. I do have a personal affinity for this organization. I've been their general counsel pretty much since the inception for the most part, and they launched my career, to be quite frank, and I'm super appreciative of it. They paid for me to go to the first NRA conference I ever went to down in Phoenix, Arizona, actually. Where I met a lot of people in the FBI and ATF that actually have furthered my career by assisting me in understanding the law. So again, for what it's worth, I know you weren't around them, but thank you for that. It really means a lot. So Doug, introduce yourself, a little bit about the organization,
Sure.
Tell the audience what they do.
So I'm Doug Deacon with Ohioans for Concealed Carry. We are the premier statewide pro-gun group here in Ohio, and despite the name, we're about more than just concealed carry. We're about all firearms rights in general. So whether it's concealed carry or open carry, or the ability to hunt with suppressors or whatever, if it's gun related in Ohio, it's our bag. Absolutely. We have a lot of stuff going on. We have litigation that, of course, you help with.
Yep.
We have legislation we push at the State House. Occasionally we go and protest stupid municipalities, probably the best way to put it, that think that your firearms rights stop at their city borders, and they're wrong. So yeah, we do all kinds of fun stuff like that. Our website's ohioccw.org. So
now you're located just in the state of Ohio, right? You only operate within
correct.
the state of Ohio.
That's absolutely correct.
Now, do you have any sister organizations that are like you in other states?
No, we don't coordinate outside of Ohio any, no.
Do you know if any other states have organizations like OFCC?
Oh, there's tons. You get the Virginia Defense League.
VCDL,
Yeah.
Virgin Defense League, great organization.
Yes. And every state should have, the NRA is great, and we work with the NRA every chance we get. We should all be reading off the same sheet of music, especially when you go talk to your legislators, because if you can say, hey, look, Ohioans for Concealed Carry wants this, and the NRA agrees, now it's not just, the several 100,000 Ohioans that are concealed handgun licensees, it's also the 5+ million NRA members that the legislators' voices hear when you talk, which is important. So every state should have a local firearms rights group, because the NRA can't be everywhere at all times. They're like the NRA ILA with the Institute for Legislative Action, they only have so many people to cover a certain chunk of the country, whereas a state-specific group is made up of local people who understand the local issues that are unique to your state. And frankly, what's right in Ohio and the issues in Ohio may not be anything like the issues in Maine or the issues in Nebraska. And so it's appropriate, really, for states to have their own groups of people that know what's going on.
Oh, the People's Republic of California.
Oh my heavens! I'm so glad I don't live there. I can't even describe
Beautiful
it.
state. I hiked the John Muir Trail last year, but I could never live there.
Yeah. They really have their work cut out for them, though.
Yeah,
if you want to be the guy pushing the rock up the hill for all eternity, be a pro-gun fighter in California, and you would absolutely have my undying admiration. But wow, that's an uphill fight right there.
For our other home office in Atlanta, Georgia, I believe it's Georgia Carry. Again, you can find us on munitionsgroup.com. Call us to confirm that. My law partner is based out of Atlanta. He can answer that question. I want to take a step back and a little bit of history of OFCC. What was their crowning achievement for Ohioans for Concealed Carry? The number one thing that launched that organization?
So, House Bill 12 in 2004 was the original concealed handgun license law that was passed. And when we got started in 1999, we went through a couple of general assemblies. Here in Ohio, they're 2-year general assemblies, where there was a lot of all or nothing. And you can ask for all or nothing, and typically what the server will bring you is a heaping plate of nothing. And eventually we embraced an incrementalist approach to gun rights. For decades, more than a century now, the anti-gun forces in America have infringed on all of our rights incrementally. They did it one step at a time, a little bit here, a bite there, and next thing you know, we're in this horrible shape where you can't hardly carry a gun anywhere. And so we decided to take their own tactic and turn it against them and embrace an incremental approach to getting our rights back. So in the case of House Bill 12 in 2004, which got Ohio to become a shall issue state, that was huge.
Explain to the audience what a shall issue state is.
Certainly. So there's two categories, a shall issue and there's may issue. A may issue state is a state like New York, or California even, where, yeah, technically you can get a license to carry a concealed handgun, but the reality is it's only the politically connected, wealthy donors to politicians. Those people are the ones who get it because they're not required to issue a license to anybody who qualifies. It's just the well-heeled and the well-connected politically who get those licenses. Whereas in a shall-issue state, which Ohio is now after 2004, a shall-issue state says, look, if you're not a felon, if you're not a bad guy, you don't beat your wife or do anything crazy like that, then you qualify to have a concealed handgun license, and they have to issue you one if you apply for one and pay the licensing fee. So Ohio became a shall-issue state, but the law was imperfect. We took what we could get, knowing that it wasn't everything we wanted, and we embraced that incrementalist approach to go and say, okay, in the coming years, we will they loaded up all kinds of poison pills back in '04. And all these poison pills they put in there, it was the anti-gun forces who inserted them. And for the record, we are also a nonpartisan organization, so don't think the anti-gun forces automatically mean Democrats. There are pro-gun Democrats, there are anti-gun Republicans. I'm here to tell you, I've seen it.
And to interject right there, we had to overcome a veto to get this bill passed,
Absolutely.
didn't we? Who was the governor we overcome?
Governor Taft, who was Republican. And just because you're a Republican, don't make you pro-gun. And so there were anti-gun forces on both sides of the aisle who put poison pills into this bill. We took it anyway because we knew that in the coming years, as long as we kept the ball and had the initiative and kept going down the field, we could incrementally remove all those little poison pills. And now we're to the point where we've got a pretty decent law. It still needs improved. There's always work to be done. But we've been able to remove a lot of those poison pills and get the law to be in much better shape.
Some of those examples from practicing in the state have been restaurant carry has changed.
Huge one.
Car carry has changed.
Yeah, the old Buckeye Tuck was ridiculous.
Yep. Castle doctrines come into effect.
Yep.
If you're able to, if not, let us know. But are you able to tell what's on the wish list of the audience?
Sure. So our number one thing right now is removing the duty to notify. So in Ohio, this is what the last poison pill from 2004 that's still in the law. There is a requirement where if you get pulled over by the police, you have to actively notify. And the law says you have to promptly notify.
Yeah.
But of course, they don't define what promptly is, so it's vague and open to interpretation and abuse. And so when the cop comes up to your window, you have to interrupt them. And police don't like being interrupted.
Right.
They're trained to take control of a situation. They don't want you talking over them.
There was a case out of Canton, wasn't there, that we funded?
Yes.
That had horrendous effects in the community.
And that was a huge YouTube video. I think got like 500,000
it went
views
viral. It went viral.
In very short order. Ended up with like 2 million total. But yeah, exactly. That's an excellent example. So in the Canton case, Officer Harless kept telling the driver to shut up. I mean, he's required by law to promptly notify the officer that he's got a valid concealed handgun license and he's currently armed. And the guy kept telling him to shut up. And it's all on dash cam. And eventually, when he figured it out, the officer reacted very negatively and said some very unfortunate things.
He threatened to assassinate the defendant.
He sure did, yeah. So I guess that qualifies as unfortunate.
Well, yeah, long story short, it went to trial, and the defense attorney moved for Rule 12, which is a dismissal, without even putting any evidence on, and they won that.
Yes, yeah. The fact that they continued to prosecute that case after the video came out was just abysmal. And Ohioans for Concealed Carry went and got that video at Canton City Hall, and
raised a bunch of money.
Yeah.
Internationally, people are donating money.
Well, and let me tell you what was really good about that, though. We're both a pro-gun and pro-cop organization. So we got requests from all over the country from law enforcement groups for, can we use that video? Because we did some nice editing in order to make the audio clearer, add some captioning and so forth. So like for instance, California Highway Patrol contacted us and said, hey, can we use your guys' video? Can we have permission to use your video? Because we want to use it as an example of what not to do as an officer in a traffic stop.
Absolutely.
Obviously, threatening to assassinate the motorist is bad, but there was a whole bunch of mistakes made by the officers leading up to that.
The educational moment to my law enforcement friends, my LAO friends. Do not threaten to assassinate the defendant. Bad idea.
So it was. That really made us happy because we want, for being both a pro-gun and pro-cop organization, we want for interactions with law enforcement to be as seamless and easy as possible. Which brings us back to our legislative priority here. So we have House Bill 142 in the Ohio House right now, which removes that duty to promptly notify. And that's important for a number of reasons. First off, Ohio's an oddball here. Only 10 states in the union require this kind of active notification. 9 of those states, not Ohio, treat failure to do so as a minor misdemeanor. So it's something you get a ticket for, less than a $100 fine.
Yeah.
You know, oh yeah, I forgot, sorry man. Ohio, it's a misdemeanor of the first degree, which is a very serious offense. Better than I do.
6 months in jail if you're convicted
Right.
of it. $1,000 fine. You know, it's pretty horrendous, and it also has constitutional ramifications. If you think about it, I've defended people who were drinking, gets pulled over, and they either have to commit a crime or commit a crime.
Right.
Either they notify, oh, you're drunk with a gun, that's a felony, or you don't notify and you're committing a crime. So it's a Fifth Amendment issue.
Yeah, there's absolutely a self-incrimination issue there. So, and yeah, the whole thing is it's a mess. It's been abused. You know, one of the arguments about why this was not a big deal back in 2004 was, well, it's not going to be abused. The officers aren't going to abuse it. Well, we've got, you know, like 9 pages of stories of people who have been rung up and put through the ringer for allegedly failing to notify. In one case, there was a guy who, and this is on dash cam, 54 seconds after the cop got to his window, he finally managed to get a word in edgewise. And they brought him up on an M1.
I've heard 93 seconds up in northern Ohio. There was a case years ago.
Yeah.
So it's pretty onerous. So aside from promptly notify and getting rid of that, what else is on the list?
So the other big thing, that one's huge, but the other big thing is removing the duty to retreat. So today in Ohio, in a self-defense encounter, there's a whole bunch of legal standards, and you probably know them better than I do, that you have to meet. You can't start the fight, you can't escalate the fight, yada, yada, yada. Can't be a crack dealer working your corner, little things. But the biggie is that if you have the duty to retreat, you have to take it. And it's easy in a court of law months later to second guess a decision that literally is a split second life or death decision.
Right.
And so we want to remove that duty to retreat. And this, other states have this. It's not that big a deal. It sometimes gets a little politicized, but frankly, those days are in the past now, and we're gonna make a serious effort on this. So
we were discussing something earlier today, something that's very near and dear to my heart. Well, the number one thing I want to see. You want to tell the audience about that a little bit?
Absolutely. So speaking of self-defense, Ohio is yet again an oddball. I love this state. I've lived in it almost my entire life. I'm absolutely a Buckeye, but Ohio has huge problems with self-defense law. One of them, we still have that stupid duty to retreat. We're going to work on that. And the other thing is, if you claim self-defense, so, and this is true whether you're out on the street, walking into work, or even if you're in your home or in your car, where Castle Doctrine covers you. If you claim to have acted in self-defense, in the case of Castle Doctrine, there's a presumption that you did. If you claim self-defense, a prosecutor can override that or rebut that, I believe is the term.
Rebuttable presumption, if Castle Doctrine.
What he said. With just a very low standard, kind of a 51% standard of preponderance of the evidence. And that's very odd. So basically, somebody breaks, a meth head breaks into your house in the middle of the night looking for stuff to steal so he can sell it and get his fix. And you are concerned that he's going into your daughter's room and you do what you have to do, and the police come and you say, yes, I shot this person who broke into my house, was trying to get into my daughter's room, but Castle Doctrine, I had reasonable fear for my family's life, yada yada, and you've basically incriminated yourself that I shot somebody, but now the prosecutor, if you live in a county that has an anti-gun prosecutor, and they're out there, especially in one of the more urban centers, they can overcome that with just this 51% preponderance rule. In every other state of the union, all 49 or 56, depending on who you're asking and how they count, in every other state of the union, it's a beyond reasonable doubt standard, which is a much higher legal threshold for them to cover. If you think about it, if we're going to lock somebody up for something, it should be a beyond reasonable doubt standard.
Yeah.
So
it's called the Ohio exception. We're the only state in the union that requires the defendant to basically prove to preponderance of the evidence that we meet the elements of self-defense. In all other states, the burden is on the government, as it should be. So I really want that to be pushed. Please fight for that.
Absolutely.
And continue to do that, because I think it's something that we just haven't really thought about in the last 10 years for some reason. So my good friend Andrew Bronca, shout out to him, attorney based out of Colorado that specializes and focuses his practice solely in self-defense law, really brought this to my attention. So
and it inspired us when we were at the State House recently. We were circulating a link to an article he wrote, which is an excellent article, and it's key because everybody we talked to didn't realize it, and heck, until I heard about it just a couple months ago, I didn't realize it.
Andrew, make sure you put a like in our comments there, buddy.
Good work.
All right, so I want to move on now a little bit and wrap this up. How can they get a hold of you if they want to get involved?
Sure. OhioCCW.org is our website. On there, we have a link to our forums. Our forums are very active. If you're in Ohio and you're a gun-minded type of person, get on there, get involved. There's a big online community. Of course, we have our Facebook page too. But get involved. Contact us in any way. Being involved with legislation, there's a lot of ways to do it. You can call your senator, you can call your representative, you can email, you can write letters. If you want to come down to the State House, not everybody has to testify before a committee. And testifying before committees, it's big and sexy and cool, but if you're nervous about speaking in public, it'll probably give you stage fright because you got a whole panel of legislators and then you got a room full of people behind you. Some of the things we've done is when there's a committee hearing for a pro-gun bill, we'll bring 20 people. Now, we don't have 20 people talk.
Right.
But we have 19 people in the room and one guy talking, and when the legislators are sitting up there and they look out in the room and they see all these pro-gun people, they realize that this is something that their constituents want. And sometimes just your presence can be really huge.
I had a case, my first open carry case I went to trial, I had a little bit of an audience show up, and most of them from OFCC, and Mr. Doomber, who was on the show earlier, actually was there. I remember that, and it sent a message to the prosecutor, let's say. So you guys do a very good job at getting boots on ground, I'll say that. What about people who are just too busy? Can they financially donate?
Absolutely. So if you go to OhioCCW.org, there's a link to donate. You can become a member. It's only $25 to become a member. So yes, absolutely. There's always a need for fundraising. We're currently actually have 2 lawsuits going right now. There's a bunch of anti-gun cities in Ohio, including the city of Cleveland and the city of Oberlin, both of which we have lawsuits against at the moment. They're both in the appeals stage. Lawsuits are expensive, let me tell you, but they are so worth it. These are fights worth fighting. They are, the courts can be slow and ponderous, but eventually we're going to get good decisions and we're going to get case law that supports what you and I and everybody watching probably already knows, which is that average people who just want to be home at the end of the day with their loved ones should have the right to defend themselves wherever they are, in whatever circumstance, and city governments shouldn't be able to infringe on that, or any government really, but today it's the cities that we're fighting. So
This is your opportunity to tell the audience anything else you want before we wrap this up.
So Ohioans for Concealed Carry, like I said, we're big. We do a lot of things beyond just concealed carry. We're pro-gun, and there will be some organizational news coming out of us here pretty soon. Okay. So stay tuned. There's always something coming, and the fight never ends. We keep the initiative, we keep the ball, we keep the anti-gun folks on defense, which is key.
OhioCCW.org, great information. Thanks, Doug.
Thank you,
if you guys have any questions for us, you can reach out to us, munitionsgroup.com. As always, remember, be safe out there and carry on.